Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and we have another low tier battle for you. Although this one has got absolutely nothing to do with the Research Bureau, as this particular video has been kicking around on my hard drive for probably more than a month. This is Willie551955 on the North American server, and he's playing the Tier 4 Premium Imperial Japanese Navy, well, technically battleship, but actually battle cruiser, the Isuzushi. You might be looking at this thing thinking it looks an awful lot like the Congo, and well, yeah, there's a very good reason for that. The Isuzushi was one of a series of designs submitted as prototypes for the ship that eventually became the Congo class of fast battle cruisers, and between the world wars were upgraded and modified and up-armoured into fast battleships. However, above and beyond the fact that the Congo is a Tier 5 and the Isuzushi is a Tier 4, there are some notable differences, most particularly the armament. The Isuzushi has 10 guns, not 8. However, they're 12-inch guns, not the 14-inch guns that the Congo enjoys. The Congo also has fairly impressive anti-aircraft firepower for a Tier 5 battleship. The Isuzushi, not so much. A couple of things that they do have in common are their speed. While the Isuzushi isn't quite as fast as the Congo, it's still one of the faster battleships in the lower half of the tech trees, with a top speed of 28 knots. And fairly, well, the manoeuvrability is not bad, but the speed is good. There aren't many battleships that it's likely to face, other than a Congo, that can outrun it. The other thing that the Isuzushi has in common with the Congo, although to a much greater degree in the Isuzushi because it's really just a prototype and the Congo was up-armoured between the world wars, is that terminal lack of armour. Don't be fooled into thinking that this is a battleship, even though it's marketed as one. It isn't. It's a seriously big cruiser with really big guns. It is a battle cruiser. Oh dear Lord. Did you just see that? Welcome to low tier gaming, folks. Anyway. Well, you know, there's a lot to be said for gaming as a means of entertaining the underprivileged. I mean, for him, it's a day out. For his family, it's a day off. Anyway, where were we? Oh, look, are they going to do it again? I can't watch those talk. Oh, this is going to be a long game. Wow, I've never seen two destroyers die that quickly. You know, I'm trying to give you a professional play-by-play account here. It's just not helped. Whoa, whatever. Anyway. Come on, Jingles, you can do this. You're supposed to be a professional. Okay, what were we talking about anyway? Oh yes, the Isuzushi. I mean, the Congo isn't exactly renowned, in fact, Japanese battleships in general, they're not renowned for having the greatest armour. Oh my god, they've lost another one. Yes, that's right. Turn around, Willie. You don't really want to be going that way anymore. Oh my god, they're outnumbered 2-1 already. The match has barely started. And there's an enemy destroyer closing in on him. This, however, is where we're at least going to see the benefits of the superior speed of the Isuzushi. In any other Tier 4 battleship, he wouldn't have been able to avoid that torpedo. The problem, of course, the major problem with the Isuzushi is, as I've been desperately trying to tell you, terminal lack of armour. And, I mean, it's bad armour, even by Japanese battleship standards, particularly the horizontal deck armour. But the nose armour is terrible. Any ship armed with 14-inch guns, 356mm guns, can penetrate the bows of this ship. It is that bad. Do not be fooled into thinking this is a proper battleship, and he neatly avoided yet another torpedo from the G101 there. And now he's kiting away, which is absolutely the right thing to do, because there are more enemy ships, including at least one destroyer in the smoke screen, down there to the left. See, the problem now for the V170 is that he's having... well, okay, he's dead. That's the biggest problem that the V170 is currently experiencing. But it's always more difficult to torpedo a target that's sailing away from you, because your torpedoes have to play catch up. And it also has the benefit, for the target at least, of giving it more time to make evasive maneuvers. So he was able to get away from every torpedo that the V-170 fired, and now he's kiting away from the Isakaze and the Miyogi over there. The Miyogi, of course, being the other Tier 4 Japanese battleship, but the regular tech tree version. Now, the Miyogi's problem... What's that, Akazuki? You want me to tell them about the Miyogi? I was telling them about the Miyogi, Akazuki. Yeah, no, I was, really. She wants me to tell you about the Miyogi. The Miyogi's problem is that it's not really playing to any of its advantages in this situation. It's quite simply too close. The Miyogi can, when fully upgraded, have the best range of any Tier 4 battleship, a frankly ridiculous 18.6 kilometers. And it has bigger guns. It has 14-inch guns. And we already know that 14-inch armor-piercing shells can penetrate the bows and sterns of the Isuzushi, but it only has 6 of them. And because he's so close, he's got no chance that the armor-piercing shells that he fires are going to have the chance to loop up and then come down and crash through the pitifully thin deck armor of the Isuzushi either, and citadel him like that. So he only has 6 guns. They have a 28-second reload. They're larger caliber, but the Isuzushi, while its guns are only 12-inch, they're lower caliber. It's got a lot more of them, 4 more in total. They fire faster, 25-second reload. And because Willie's firing high explosive, each of these shells has a 32% chance of setting a fire on the target. And again, Japanese battleship. Armor's better than the Isuzushi, but it's not great, so the high explosive shells are doing a lot of damage. And he's also being shot at by the Bellerophon, which can't be fun for him. Isakaze is starting to catch up, but here's the moment where the Isakaze turns to get his torpedoes away. So he's firing his torpedoes from a range of around about 6 kilometers at a target that's kiting away from him. His torpedoes only have a 7-kilometer range, which means we'll probably never even see those Isakaze torpedoes, let alone take damage from them. The Miyogi, still in a situation that you never really want to get into in one of the... Oh god, they've lost another ship. There's now only... I'm desperately trying to find a bright side here, but there's now just Willie in the Isuzushi and that Bellerophon left. He's going to see if he can get another fire and do some more damage. He does get another fire. He does do more damage. There goes the damage control. Not that it really matters, because the Bellerophon's finished him off. The Isakaze has now just run out of friends, and he's in a very, very bad position, because all of his friends are on the other side of 2 enemy battleships, one of whom is kiting away from him, so he's never going to land a torpedo. In fact, his best bet right now is to turn away and motor, Billy Big Step style, back the way he came. Stop shooting, go undetected, get out of there. So of course he keeps shooting. Don't want to be too critical here. This is just Tier 4 after all. There's an excellent chance that the Isakaze player over there, who is firing armor piercing at an angled battleship... Hey, if they do something funny, I'm going to laugh, okay? Because funny is still funny. But, you know, we're not going to really criticise here. It's entirely possible he's only been playing World of Warships for a day. This is how you learn. So, it was 2 against 4. It's unfortunate that the Miyogi managed to get his spotter plane up, although I think the guys on the enemy team know where the last 2 surviving ships are anyway, but the spotter plane doesn't exactly help our case. Anyway, 3 enemies, including a destroyer, 1 cruiser, 1 battleship. I think the cruiser's a Charleston, which is essentially a premium version of the Tier 3 St. Louis, and the St. Louis is a very, very dangerous protected cruiser. It's ridiculously tough by cruiser standards, and oh, here's the lag spike. Check this out. At first I had no idea what was going on, but this is one hell of a lag spike. He's so lucky this didn't happen to him when he was dodging torpedoes from the V-170. Otherwise this match might have had a distinctly different ending, but here we go. Enemy battleship spotted, the Turan. That's the French Tier 3. Technically, on paper at least, that thing has better firepower than the Isuzushi, and the Isuzushi doesn't have bad firepower with 10 12-inch guns. More lag spikes. Cost him some damage on the terrain there, and took some damage while he was waiting. And he's... oh, this is just bad news. That's just terrible, getting shot at by the Charleston. And the game continues to lag out for him. Imagine the damage he could have inflicted on the terrain there, if he hadn't been lagging out. But as I was saying, the terrain technically has better firepower. The Isuzushi has 10 13-inch guns, the terrain has 12, but because the Isuzushi's turrets are mounted in a more modern arrangement, they're super firing turrets, it can bring them all to bear on whatever target. The terrain can't do that because it's got the older Dreadnought style arrangement with some turrets set in the wings. Well, it's not much of an advantage, but we'll take it. Meanwhile, it's strange when you watch these lower tier battles because everybody is clearly focusing on the Bellerophon, which makes sense. This is a good thing for the enemy team. The Bellerophon's on lower health. And yet we're still seeing, well, the Wix here, for example, he's running his engine boost and popping his smoke screen. There's no way he's going to stay undetected. And that cost him. He did get his torpedoes away, though. In the Wix, you have to close the suicide range. The Bellerophon definitely took a hit. The remaining 2 enemy ships are still pouring fire into the Bellerophon, and he's dead. It's now Willie alone against the Charleston and the Turenne. And while that smokescreen didn't do the Wix any good, it's probably going to be quite useful for the Charleston and the Turenne. Remember, American smokescreens do tend to last for quite a while. However, smokescreens do work both ways, and Willie does have superior speed and technically firepower over the 2 surviving enemy ships. Maybe he can also use the smokescreen in conjunction with the island here to get the drop and some nice juicy broadside armour piercing shots into the enemy tier 3 battleship and cruiser. Although that does work both ways too. They're almost certainly going to have the guns pointing in this direction, and the Turenne has guns of the same calibre as Willie. So this could come down to whoever gets the first shot off. As we've already established, the Isuzushi's armour is terrible. And there's the... oh, it's the Charleston. Against any other cruiser, that would probably have been multiple citadels, but, well, it's the Charleston, and it's tanky as all hell. The question, of course, is where is the Turenne? That question is answered when the Turenne fires and reveals his position through the smokescreen, but he's only got the rear turret pointing in this direction, so, you know, that was nice. Not entirely sure why the Turenne thought that Willie was going to be further to the south, which is where all of the rest of the Turenne's turrets were pointing, but we'll take it, although you can guarantee that the Turenne's turrets are now swinging around. And, oh, you really don't want to be given that much broadside. He's got the same caliber guns as you. Willie starts swinging around. The Turenne fires. Just enough angle. Took it on the belt. He really needs to finish off this Charleston. Right now, the Charleston is the bigger threat. If he sets more fires, while the damage control is on cooldown, he could win this game. But he's firing armour piercing. I mean, it's not a terrible idea at this kind of range with 6-inch guns, trying to get citadels. We know that the Isuzushi has terrible armour, but another fire or 2 would have been better. So now it's 1 against 1. And it's at this moment where both surviving players betray an ignorance of some of the technicalities of exactly how it is that you win a game in World of Warships. The Turenne is going for the RAM. Willie, realising, and in the faster ship, is narrowly, I mean by the skin of his teeth, able to avoid the RAM. And this has put him on the, technically you could call it the unengaged side of the Turenne, because the Turenne's guns are all pointing in the other direction. And at this kind of range, he's going to do a lot of damage. But here's the thing, and I'm reasonably sure that Willie wasn't aware of it at the time. Possibly he was and his instincts just kicked in. But if he'd actually accepted the RAM, he would have already won this game. As it is, that salvo, while impressive, wasn't enough to finish off the Turenne, and the Turenne's gun turrets are swinging around, and he might still sink Willie. But if he'd taken the RAM, both ships would have been sunk, and the match would have gone to the team with the most points, which would have been Willie's team. But blowing the last enemy ship out of the water with your guns and earning the Kraken is just an altogether more satisfying way of doing it. And also, let's just stop to recognise the fact that he got a Kraken Unleashed and 110,000 damage in a Tier 4 battleship, which would have been an impressive amount of damage and number of kills in a Tier 4 anyway. But you also have to take into account the fact that there were only 6 players per team in the first place due to the lower server population on the North American server, so that is an astoundingly good result. Well done, Willie. Thank you for the entertaining match. And I hope everybody else enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.